Hello again. It's me, back for the week with Will. This will be episode 6, I believe. Still working on the title. Obviously, if you've clicked on this, you've already worked out what I put it as. Never mind. So, as I left things last week, it will have been picking up friends from the airport. It was slightly teased as to what things I've been up to this week on the having seen the picture for last week's video. So having sort of picked everything up, everyone's sort of gotten settled in over sort of that coming weekend. We got into a lot of the planned and slightly unplanned activities throughout the week. Get to sort of have an English holiday, as it were, for sort of friends that have come from different countries, sort of better learning and understanding how we do things, as it were. So I'll start with Monday, which in itself was more of a planned day. So as you saw in the previous video, or the previous video's picture, there's some kayaking, which felt sort of rather interesting. It feels weird, some of these activities that I'm going to go through is sort of things that are naturally quite local, quite nearby. They're not difficult to do, they're not hard to do, they're not overly expensive to do, I suppose. So I'm sort of hoping that throughout this might sort of inspire people to be getting out and about and trying something different that they might not have thought before. I mean, I think I've sort of pushed my boundaries for some of these activities and imagine myself kayaking anyway. So none of these activities being overly pricey, sort of going along the River Stour on a kayak for up to 2 hours, having all the safety talks and equipment and waiver signed and all of that, which was rather peaceful. It sort of went through 2 spells of seeing just how fast can I go in a kayak, and then the just sort of quiet spells, as it were, to sort of lay back and just appreciate like where you are in the world. Just naturally sort of calm, quiet, relaxed, sort of village, sort of idyllic sort of view of things, as it were. To mention, I also learned that my left side seemed to be a bit stronger than my right, at least when I was trying to sort of go at any great speed in a kayak. So I have the slight tendency to go to the left, to the point that if I kept going, I'd probably just go very, very fast in circles, which would have been pretty pointless. But it was at least fast enough when one friend threatened to try and catch up with me to knock me off, and in his attempt capsized himself. So I had to spend a small amount of time trying to get someone else out of the water whilst not getting too soggy myself, not being the most prepared for the day, and not having spare clothes, which would have been the smarter option, which you're going to try it in the future, would recommend. Sort of going in from that, had a pub lunch with a slightly soggy bottom, which sort of going through the more, what I'd consider one of the traditional pub lunches for fish and chips for me, which is always a bit of a go-to. Always feel it's fairly safe, pretty comfortable. I never feel like it's a meal that can be messed up or cause any issue or concern. At least not for me. I mean, some people in the world aren't big fans of fish, but that's pretty good for me. So after that, considering I was slightly wet and the weather was still fairly dry, I decided to have a go at the nearby driving range instead. Unfortunately, my ego didn't really enjoy the fact that I definitely was not the best person there by any stretch of the imagination. Some of the people who came with us, I actually do play golf before, and we're naturally sort of getting close to sort of averaging around sort of 175, 200 yards. Me, myself, I'd say sort of going somewhere between 100 and 150 with, I didn't realise at the time, may not have been the best size golf clubs, as this is a driving range. I don't go golfing regularly, and so we got given sort of spare set, and I myself being quite a tall person with a long old back, started to creep in and also started to cut away at my hands a little bit as well. So golf obviously not being for the faint-hearted, of course, as that sort of did put a slight downer, at least for a little bit, on my back for the following day, and made me feel a little bit off balance, as it were, which is never good being someone of my height. After that, we sort of had a nice homemade curry. On to the next day. So the next day was just a nice look around the nearest town, which would be Ipswich. Being able to go on holiday, sort of everyone wanting to look for various things to sort of take home to loved ones to commemorate the holidays, as it were. Enjoying a nice sort of lunch at Prezzo's. I naturally have a strong love for most Italian food. The pizza, the pasta, yeah. Nice, simple, easy. Know what I'm getting. Love it. Easy. And so, sort of from that, I suppose it went from that, including in that, having been in throughout the town, headed off to a bit of bowling, where my competitive side was very much there again. However, this was a sport that I am pretty solid at, so I actually managed to win both games, not to brag. So that was very enjoyable for me, having sort of the games, the arcades, the pool tables, to be able to just play, just chill, relax. Not really spending a lot, it's just having fun. It's supposed to be obviously the one thing to sort of mind in those sort of environments is just being very much aware of who is around you. Just spatial awareness, me being quite tall, other people running around there being maybe a little bit small. Overall sort of very enjoyable experience. And then having sort of picked up the slight issue with the back from the sort of golfing, I decided to have a bit of an early night. On top of that, I managed to give myself a little bit of a headache, sort of slightly self-induced, I suppose, maybe. I'm not too sure whether it's sort of down to the food, potentially, having sort of had a bit more of a shift in diet or going out more throughout these few days, or I suppose there's one other sort of thing. It's there's sort of an inner stress inside my head, as okay, this, though it is technically my holiday, felt like this is more their holiday. I want to make sure things are good for them. They have travelled to England. I will do my best to make it sort of better for them. I'm under no obligation to do so, but it's a tick in my head that they're friends. I want my friends to have a good time. Sometimes to my own detriment, as it were. Probably is not the best way to look at things, as I think naturally most people need to have sort of a good bit of balance with their love, not to sort of go sort of too much one way or the other between sort of loving yourself and loving others, but to find that balance there sort of for both, which is something that I myself am still working on, I suppose. As naturally sort of feel like I will always try to give more to others than myself, but that's a small headspace issue. Moving on to the Wednesday. So the Wednesday we did the escape room. So with the location was Clutopia within Ipswich, which was looking at a murder in the disco, I believe the name was, sort of a very sort of 70s themed, experience, which was rather interesting. It's something I'd never ever done before. I was always intrigued by the concept of the escape room, sort of looking around, looking for clues to potentially sort of move forward from room to room, clues looking to work out who the murderer was of the disco champion, as it were, with all of us with various aliases and working out who it all was. It's very enjoyable on the basis that there's a feeling that everyone contributed, everyone wanted to get together, everyone worked towards something, and did it. We did it within the time, so I'm happy. First one, I didn't fail, I didn't mess it up. Brilliant. Something I would definitely recommend again. Potentially looking at just trying to do a few different themes. Maybe this one that we did was at a slightly lower difficulty, so maybe stretch it out a little bit more for next time. I'm not too sure. Very enjoyable experiences. I would recommend anyone who can to go. It's a nice easy day out, nice bit of fun, team bonding. It's all very, very enjoyable. And then we had some nice food along the quay, which is obviously not far from the venue. And then we sort of had a quick spell back into town where my slightly geeky nature, as it were, took over. But it wasn't just mine. It's one of my friends and I that was sort of over. We got what you would call a mystery box, sort of these sort of boxes from HMV, to which the sort of a collection of different sort of things, of memorabilia based on a particular category, whether this is gaming, whether this is Harry Potter, whether this is superheroes. One of the things inside there was a little card game or a little card deck that both of us had based upon Warhammer. Now, I myself have never really ever played Warhammer. However, this felt like a really sort of fun, interesting card game. Potentially having spent about an hour or two looking up on YouTube videos how to play, we played these two games, which probably lasted a total of 3 to 4 hours afterwards, after all sort of going out, which was very, I've been very draining on other people, but I was definitely sort of feeding my inner geek then, which was very enjoyable and might sort of become a potential hobby for the future. I don't necessarily believe it's going to lead me to going deeper into the world of Warhammer, but it was very enjoyable. From that, we then had the Thursday, and the Thursday we went to a clip and climb in Ipswich to sort of have a go at sort of a few of the climbing walls. This revealed a few things about me, I'm not going to lie. So you naturally get put on safety harnesses, get shown easier walls to climb up and down from. So very good safety mechanics and layout, so you can have some very small children climbing up and down there without any fear, like little monkeys and what have you. I myself discovered a slight fear in the height aspect of the climbing. Wasn't necessarily down to my ability to climb up the wall, but more the idea that once I've gotten so high up a wall, I've then, in order to get down, you can't just simply be like, oh, well, I'm just going to climb down. No, it's going to be, you've got to push yourself away from the wall, you've got your harness and everything there to help you come back down. I myself was not very trusting of said harness. I did jump, but only from a few feet above the ground, where it didn't really matter too much whether I was wearing it or not. So that's something I might need to potentially work on, but that's potentially a lot more screaming and shouting than a 31-year-old should do, considering people less than half my age climbing up and down there without any fear. I'm sure I put my own nieces and nephews could put me to shame over such instance. So it's we'll see whether I try to brave that one again. But as for now, we'll give it a bit of a rest. For lunch on said day, went to Harvester. It was nearby. It was nice, sort of cheap, cheerful, easy. Know what you're getting. A very lovely sort of place. And then we managed to head back, get ready for sort of the group splitting up, as it were, to a guys' night and a girls' night. Obviously, I went on the guys' night. This was one of the few opportunities this week where I wasn't sort of driving to and from and around the venues, and so I could obviously just put my feet up, relax, I can chill, and just sort of have a deep sort of nice sort of heart-to-heart chat with sort of some of the guys, just sort of having a laugh, getting to know them better in a far more relaxed environment, where an environment to which I myself am far more relaxed. Just sort of the ideal sort of thing in itself is probably one of the just as good as sort of going to therapy at some stages, going to the pub like that with sort of a few mates. It really does the trick, and I think it really does help with your own headspace, as it were. From that, we then had our jam-packed day set out on the Friday, to which we've had crazy golf throughout the day, which in itself, we did set out a prize for the winner to pick everyone's first song for the karaoke later. I myself get quite competitive, as I've mentioned. Certain holes I could get right something, certain ones I could do, certain ones I couldn't do. Was the only one to get a one-on-one hole in one, so very chuffed with that. Unfortunately, didn't quite get the big win on that one. Finished behind by 1 point. As the hole after I got the hole in one, probably got about 6, so not so good, and that unfortunately balanced things out. We'll get onto that afterwards. And then after that, having lost and been very humble about it, of course, cleaned up, tidied up, off to next restaurant, which would have been the Spoons, which is not Wetherspoons, a restaurant within Ipswich, which is sort of almost like a world-style buffet, where there is essentially a bit of everything throughout sort of different cuisine, almost like a all-you-can-eat, get a plate, on you go, get what you want. I myself sort of mix between Chinese, curry, and some very sort of sweet desserts. After that, we then decided to head off to go to the karaoke. Now, I don't know whether I want some of those videos and pictures to go to light, and some of them may eventually come to light through my Facebook, so I'm going to apologise to everyone's ears in advance, should they see that, or should they hear it. I'm also really hoping that no one got anything of my very first rendition, because it was not a song picked by me, and not one I was comfortable with, singing Baby Got Back. Now, I'm obviously very familiar with the chorus, and the faster bits through the verses, not so much. I like to think I kept rhythm, probably didn't. I like to think that in most of my song choices I keep a fairly good rhythm and notes. However, I think I start to pick up on now, particularly having not being an activity which I drank too much on, or didn't drink anything on, is that I can just about get to the right notes at the start of a song, and I'm giving it absolutely everything, and then about halfway through, my voice just sort of goes, and you're lost, and I'm gone. And it just goes from, okay, to, dear God. Which is part of the reason why I should probably be stuck to being a drunken person's activity. But there we have it. Then from that, we had a very chilled Saturday, deciding to play a few different board games, some of them slightly more adult themed, sort of games called Disturbed Friends, sort of going through Mr. and Mrs. to see who was considered more compatible as couples, considering there was a couple within the group. I myself discovered that I'm just naturally very compatible with other people, apparently. Sort of consistently scoring high with everyone. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. Maybe I just know people very well. But we'll see. From that, we sort of had the long drive back to Heathrow for the American contingent to head back. and so from that everything died down, so only a few people left. The Sunday, it's just very chilled, very relaxed. Get up, Tim Hortons, what do I like from Tim Hortons? What are they good for? Good for coffee, good for donuts. Best thing about it as far as I'm concerned. I'm not necessarily keen on some of the burgers, the chips and stuff. Maybe some people's taste, not mine. I've naturally got a sweet tooth, so I sort of quite enjoy those things. The sort of vanilla, sort of toasted or the French vanilla latte is very, very good French vanilla coffee. From that, sort of going to a few other shops, deciding to just have a nice sort of chilled one, just wandering around the beach or wander around the pier, sort of along Felixstowe. Nothing too much to stress over, nice and relaxed, just having a laugh, just decompressing, which I think is sort of probably one of the best things to do when you sort of get yourself very busy and very worked up in your own head over what you're doing. So it's very nice. Sort of led to sort of the sort of day today, where maybe a little bit more of the same. Just sort of chilled, a couple of shops, not sort of too rushed around too much, chilling at home, sort of playing game, going out, doing anything else from the shops, get everything from the shops, doing the most traditionally sort of English thing I can think of, a nice lunch at Greg's, back from that, and then a return trip so dropping that said friend off back at Stansted, and sort of there we have it. So now we've got the next week sort of lined up with sort of a very chilled one throughout the weekdays. Potentially looking at going to see Deadpool and Wolverine, as I think I know quite a few people that are, and I myself have not had a trip to the cinema in a while, so it's probably long overdue. I myself am also going to look at doing some reviews for some of the TV series I've watched, as a couple of them have finished over the last week. So I will be looking to get things organised. Ideally tomorrow, maybe Wednesday, we'll see. Getting those videos out, as well as of the football themed one as well, of course. But I believe that should wrap everything up. Now I wanted to go on my song of the week. Now, one of my friends that's been on this trip is Irish. He is very Irish. He's very fond of his nationality and the music to which accompanies it. One of the bands in particular, which he was very insistent on, were the High Kings, which, okay, quite like. Not all of his songs stuck. However, for a nice, happy, upbeat one, they have a song called Chasing Rainbows, which is just sort of full of life, full of energy, full of fun. So I hope everyone else is sort of full of life, full of energy and having fun. Catch you all later. Bye for now.